Hello, my lovely. You didn't get to where you are in your business by doing shit the way that everybody else does. And you know that what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to where you want to be. And if you are listening to this podcast, it's because you want to be the go to for what you do better than anyone else. Your brilliance is the niche. Being you, that bold, unfuckwithable presence that you've secretly been craving to set free, she is in there. And that means you will have to burn some old bridges down. And attracting your people will also repel those who are not for you. Fucking hooray. Becoming a force of nature business and brand means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your turbo brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you have ever been told to tone it down as a woman with ADHD, it's time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up. That is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business and visibility that is something you've been avoiding, but that you truly want. This podcast is about stepping into your upgrade, watering down anything, never change the fucking world. You were not born to be forgettable. And as one of my all-time favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, which is part 2 of 4. So if you haven't gone and heard part 1 of this money discussion yet, go back and listen so you can have context. We're going to discuss the executive function issue we have with ADHD about changing context. This is something that's hard for our brains to do already. So I'm going to apply this to money and why changing your mindset around money might feel challenging at times. But you can absolutely do it. If I can, so can you. You heard the last episode. I told you some of my history and where I'm at now. And I'm going to tell you why you may have issues switching context around money based on things that our brains contend with. And at the end, I'm going to give you a series of questions to ask yourself around each one of these. I'm going to give you 10 and then have a question for you as a companion that you can pick 1 or 2, whatever feels best for you to choose at the end, and ask yourself the question and see what comes out for you. And we all have these feelings. They are natural. These pushbacks when it comes to money based in society and so many different issues as far as women and money and the fact that we don't fucking talk about this shit. And it's all natural. There's nothing wrong with thinking them, but it's getting stuck in the loop, and that loop is what will keep you there longer than you need to be. So the questions at the end will help you to start digging into that loop so you can fucking cut it off, because you are here to create a roadblock for that. The quicker you create a roadblock and create some proof of opposite around it, which is where you have certain things that you know to be true about yourself with money, and you use those truths to replace some of the bullshit that tries to come up in your head. That's what I call my proof of opposite, is literally proving your brain the fucking opposite of what it's trying to tell you with actual facts, will also help get you out of this loop. And this is going to start helping you get out of those feelings if you live in some of these feelings. And like I said in the last episode, I don't care how far down the road you are in your business. I have been in rooms with 6-figure women, 7-figure women, and these conversations and this topic comes up, but it is not about the topic. It is about how long you allow yourself to live there. So let's help get you the fuck out of some of these thoughts that you may contend with. So from one force of nature to another, turn the volume up to an 11 and welcome to the Feral Women's Club. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur, the podcast for feral ADHD women in business who refuse to play by the fucking rules, because rules are meant to be wrecked, baby. My name is Carrie. I'm your host. I'm the chief weirdo of Carrie Out Loud. And if you are new here, welcome. I am really, really glad that you found the podcast. If this episode has an impact on you or helps you in any way, do me a quick favor. click the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you can return every Wednesday. And if you would take the time to leave a 5-star rating and a review of the episode, it helps other women like you find this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, be sure to subscribe. Since I understand your ADHD, not just professionally, but personally, each episode has my business expertise of over 26 years filtered through the lens of having our feral fun house of a brain, also known as ADHD. So whether you're late diagnosed or self-diagnosed, or you maybe even were diagnosed when you were younger, which is more of the rarity here, everybody's welcome here. And my approach to life and to business is about focusing on the upsides of our technicolor brains and our advantages that we have because of them in business, while also acknowledging that there are some real, very hard parts that are real, but they're also manageable. And I don't believe that ADHD is a disability. And I know that ADHD women can do whatever the fuck they set their minds to, period. So if that is not your jam, you do not believe that, I might not be your jam, and that's totally okay. I'm not offended. I hope you're not offended. You might be, but that's okay. But if you share my point of view, stick around. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to talk about why switching context is challenging for ADHD brains. And then I'm going to give you questions based on money and switching context in your brain around money that you can ask yourself to dig into these. There's a lot of great money books out there, which I recommended to you in the last episode. So be sure to go and listen if you haven't listened. But they challenged my beliefs on money. They challenged some of the things I felt. But at the end of the day, both of them I completely agree with 1,000,000%. I believe that we can do and have and be whatever the fuck we want to. And there are so many examples of this in our world, in our lifetime, of people who've come from nothing or come from very dark places or hard places or fucked up places. And they have found a way to truly change their life. And that is available to you. Just in case you were wondering, that's totally available to you. But we have some fun little shit that goes on upstairs in our little brain here that likes to mess with that shit. And so let's talk about it. Context is one of them. So let's discuss context around money. Switching context is already fucking hard. Your brain burns a lot of extra fuel every time you're trying to shift gears. It is a challenge for our brains. So if you've been running on money equals stress, having money equals stress, having money equals something negative for years, jumping to money feels possible. Money has possibilities. Money is something that is for me. That might fucking feel like whiplash. That may feel like awkward at first, right? Because of how you were raised, because of society, because of the fact that women don't talk about money, what the fuck ever. Switching context to that new way of believing may be something that is going to take a little bit more time than others because of the fact that context switching is challenging. We as humans are addicted to what we know. We have a dopamine addiction to what we already know. Every crappy money story you have gives your brain predictable dopamine patterns. You know, it's the fucking familiar. It's the shitty comfort zone, right? Not the good, not the comfort zone like where you're comfy and you're in your comfy clothes. I'm talking about the shitty comfy zone. The one that's like has these shitty beliefs, but you're like, yeah, I'm comfy here. No. Even if it's negative, it feels safer than something unfamiliar, like thinking I can have what I want to. Because we're not taught also, we better not say that just for the sake of wanting it. We're not allowed to have that. And we will approach that in the next episode of these 4. But you are addicted in some way, shape, or form to what you already know. And I've heard this. I will have to try to find out where this came from, but 90% of our thoughts each day are the same fucking thoughts. 90%. That means only 10% of our thoughts are different, right? Unless we choose to do them differently. Think about driving down the street to somewhere you go all the time. How often do you go into mindlessness, right? You just know where to go. And then you end up there. You're like, how the fuck did I even get here? Your brain has traveled all over the place while you're getting there, but you got there, right? That's the familiar. Familiar feels safer. As I say, no tiger, right? There's no tiger waiting around the corner to eat you, no saber tooth, right? It's safe. It's your brain going, you're safe here. We're good to go. Even though it's fucked up, we're safe here. We're going to keep this shit. No, you get to change that. Next, our limited working memory sometimes. ADHD brains do not hold all of the context at one time. So you might remember, I want to think in the way of abundance. And then the next morning at 2 a.m., you're like, shit, where's the next client coming from? Because you've lost that train of thought that quickly. You and I both know I have done this so many times where you're in the middle of a sentence and you can't even remember what you were saying while you're fucking saying it. Okay. Like as we get older, as perimenopause or menopause comes into play and a little bit of that extra brain fog comes into play, which is super fun anytime basically after 35, this can be something that is really challenging. So just remember that the fact that you struggle with holding all those contexts at one time is part of what you're working with. Do your best. That's where we're really going for here to make these changes because you can. Time blindness combined with financial cause and effect. So long-term shifts in money mindset take consistent action, right? Consistency is this word that ADHD people just have this love-hate relationship with because consistency, we're talking, just be consistent, just be consistent. But first of all, consistency is subjective. What does consistent mean to one person? Let's say posting 3 days a week is consistent to one person, 7 days a week is consistent to another. Like consistency is always something that we get to determine what that means. However, long-term shifts in money mindset that take constant action cause our brain to struggle because the payoff, the feeling of the payoff is months away or down the road. We're working right now for something that's way down the road. Our brains are now and not now, right? So our brains see shit as now and not now. And this plays into that with time blindness. When we're that's why goal setting for ADHD people, even though, I mean, there's fucking neuroscience on this. I saw recently in an article I was reading in a science magazine, I'll have to find it, where it talks about the fact that 90-day goals for everybody are actually more reasonable. I mean, yes, it's great to have a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal, 10-year goals, and all of those things, but we are evolving as humans. We are evolving in our businesses. Things evolve. Guess what? That means our goals change. But 90 days, that's a little bit more predictable. That's a little bit more realistic for our brains to hold on to. But I have clients who are like, I can't fucking set goals. I fucking hate them. The minute I have a goal, I'm going to rebel and do the exact opposite of that. That's okay too. You can work with that, I promise. You really can. Okay, this is a big one. We have big feelings, right? We have big emotions. So emotional intensity gets fused with money memories. Think back to the last episode when I was talking about being in the loft at my mom's house. That was burned into my fucking brain, right? Every time I had I didn't have enough money, every time a card has ever been declined, every time you've had a dry spell, every time you've had a frustration in your business or in your life or around money or around bills, it gets fucking burned in there. It takes root. Those emotions get triggered faster than new positive beliefs. So it takes time to burn in these new thoughts and patterns, but you're allowed to create new beliefs around this and prove them to yourself. So you continue to have more proof of the opposite, more proof of what is true now, not what is true tied to your past or your history or your family or feelings around not having enough. There was this really cool experiment with neuroplasticity, with how long it takes our brains to learn something different. And this guy was riding a bike where when you turn the handle right, the wheel went left. And when you turn the handle left, the wheel went right. It took him 2 months of consistently practicing every fucking day for him to be able to ride this bike in the opposite way he's been riding it his whole life. 2 months just for like a basic bike ride. Okay. His kiddo, it took 2 weeks. So younger people can do this more quickly and more efficiently. As we get older, it takes a little bit extra. and we have ADHD on top of that, right? So this is about burning in these new patterns over time so that they are able to stick. Like I was telling you, I had things burned in me from 2009 to 2024 that I have had to go in and uproot one fucking bullshit piece at a time. But I'm doing it and I've done it and I'm seeing the changes. And it's pretty fucking insane what happens when you do make the decision to do this shit and actually do this work. And I don't mean do the work like in the sarcastic sense. I mean, like, no, really dig into this bullshit and extract it. Like, you get to do that. The next thing that our brains give us is hyper focus on present problems, things that are happening now as opposed to not now. So if you've always been stuck in survival mode, if you've always been stuck in less than, if you've always been stuck in lack, if you've always been stuck in that pattern for as long as you can remember, to get away from that feeling, especially if it's something you are super hyper focused on, it can feel impossible. But it is, it's possible. But it feels that way. And that feeling is not wrong. It's very real. But you do get to have a fucking say in it. Difficulty with our mental file cabinets. Neurotypical brains can compartmentalize shit into past money trauma and current reality. ADHD brains will smash them all into one big, sticky, messy pile that is not separated. It's all together. It's like a big ass pile of laundry we don't want to touch because we know washing the laundry takes one day and folding and putting away 7 to 10 business days, right? So okay, all joking aside, that's just me. I fucking hate laundry. But all that aside, your brain is throwing it all into one pile, not giving it different compartments. That could be something that you're contending with. We have a interest-based and novelty-based brain. We have a novelty bias. Your brain wants new input. So repeating tools or repeating new habits or repeating something new over and over again that may feel redundant might get boring fast. And that can interrupt you helping that rewiring. So that's why making sure you pick little tiny things that are completely doable over and over and over again, and then build a stack onto that may help you more, because then it doesn't feel as boring, especially if you tie the habit or tie the little tiny thing to something that's really fun or good. Like, for example, I have a client and she loves fun print pants. And so, for a reward for her brain, when something major happens in her business, she gets to buy herself a cool, fun, funky, wild ass pair of pants that maybe someday she'll talk on stages in, or whatever the fuck she does with it, right? But it's that novelty and that interest. The interest is in getting to that next place and celebrating and rewarding it, right? So having that novelty built in. So if you attach this to something that feels fun and feels novel, you will not necessarily interrupt the rewiring process as much. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, honey. Like, perfect is a lie anyway, but taking any action towards change is going to start creating momentum, and our brains love fucking momentum. The next one, this is a big one. This is probably, I'm going to guess, one of the biggest. Rejection sensitivity is tied to worth. So money mindset shifts require you to separate your inherent self-worth from your net worth, from your dollar value, from your dollars per whatever money, period. But ADHD brains with RSD often take every single financial hiccup or issue as a personal failure. Oh, I failed. Oh, there's the proof. I failed. I have said this a shit ton on this podcast, and I will say it over and over again. I probably haven't said it in a while, so this is good. Your inherent worth is not attached or tied to a dollar bill. It is already inside of you. Dollar bills are being paid for the outcome your clients wish to have, that you are able to help them facilitate, and the transformation you walk them through with your time, with your knowledge, and all that jazz, period. They're not tied together. But our RSD can be like, they won't pay me. That means I'm not valuable inherently as a person. Bullshit. It's not true. It's not true. But RSD is very real. If it's something you contend with, that may be something you need to dig into. RSD is that rejection sensitivity. It could be around sales, it could be around so many different things. I have had issues with feeling rejection, but with the way I do sales and how simple my process is, and the fact that I just don't sit on anybody's head. I hate that. I've heard I've heard there are coaches who encourage people to take out loans for their services. I've heard that there are people who say you have to pay right now, this minute, get out your credit card right now, like that whole bro sales tactic, boom, boom, pound, pound, pound. I fucking hate that. I refuse to do it. You know what I want to give you? I want to tell you if I can help your problem or not. Because if I can't, I'm going to tell you and maybe tell you somebody who can. And then if I can, I'm going to tell you which of my options is the best fit for you. And no, it's not always going to be the top option. It's not always going to be one-on-one, high level, high touch, all in coaching with me, which I only do 2 spots at a time anyway, because I teach capacity. But it's going to be what's best for the client, right? That is how you end up having more smooth, chill sales, because it doesn't have to be that hardcore. It gets to be easier. Plus, with rejection sensitivity tied to worth, you could have certain things like automations that do a little bit of the selling for you, or do a little bit of email automations that help people get to know you with little videos or a audio podcast. There's all kinds of little things that can help people get to know you, where you're not in the process of them getting to know you necessarily, kind of like this podcast, right? I have clients who will listen to this podcast for 6 months before they even reach out to me. You listening have gotten to know me, the way that I talk, the way that my personality is, my big ass mouth, my sweariness. You've learned all of those things before you even walk into my DMs or shoot me an email, right? Your clients are doing that too. So giving them those opportunities, and also opportunities to take a next step with you, can help you with some of this rejection sensitivity. But we're tying this to money. So this rejection sensitivity, feeling tied to your worth, is something that you may need to work on a little deeper level, especially if this is a super intense issue for you. Some people, rejection sensitivity is not as deep. For me, it was really bad, but I've made my way through it. That feels like a miracle, not 100% of the time, but if it's 85 or 90% better, that is life-changing. And that is how it is. That is where I've gotten to too. And last but not least, binary fucking thinking. This trap. ADHD brains can get stuck, very stuck in all or nothing. If I'm not debt free or at X revenue or have this number of clients, blah, 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 I am still failing. I suck. That kind of black and white filter makes it really hard for you to see any kind of money wins that are incremental, because you're like, if I'm not here, I am failing. No, that is not true. That is not correct. That is not accurate. The end. Now, for each of these things, I'm going to give you a question to ask yourself. So if you had 2 or 3 of these where you're like, yeah, that's definitely something I contend with, here's some questions you can ask yourself around money specifically. So let's go with the first one. Switching context is already challenging. Ask yourself, if I gave myself permission to take one tiny step towards money equals possibility, instead of trying to flip that whole switch on all at one time, what would that step be today? The next one, the dopamine addiction to the known. What is one small, unfamiliar money belief I could test out today just to see what happens, without needing to fully believe it yet? Next, working memory limitations. What reminder or system could I put in place, one that works with your brain, so I don't have to remember my new money story? I see it and I use it every day. What's something you could do? Number 4, time blindness with the financial cause and effect. What is one thing I can do today that me down the road will look back and high five me for, even if the payoff is not right this moment? It's not right now. What will you down the road be like, oh, I'm so fucking glad you did that? For me, like starting this podcast, I look back at scared ass me in episode 1 and I was like, thank you for doing this, because my whole ADHD diagnosis and all of that jazz and evolution of my business is all documented for me. How fucking cool is that, right? Just because I made that decision. That's not necessarily about money, but it kind of is. My clients hire me from this podcast, right? That's a future payoff, a 3-year, 1 week at a time, showing up every week payoff. It works. Next, emotional intensity getting fused with memories about money. What is one piece of proof of opposite you already have that shows you that an old money story isn't the whole truth anymore? Or it is so old, it's not even worth you thinking about. What can you do to let that go? What isn't worth your time? What is something you can prove to yourself that isn't real? Next is hyper-focusing on present problems so that you can't get the fucking out of them and you keep going on a loop-de-loop. We don't want to be in that loop-de-loop, right? This is such a good one. If I had to spend the next 10 minutes thinking about something that makes me feel safe with money, what would I focus on? 10 minutes. What would you focus on when it came to money? Next is the difficulty with your mental file cabinets. Separating things instead of it being just one big lumpy, mushy, disgusting pile, full of the good and the not so good, right? What is true about my money today that would not have been true 1 year ago, 3 years ago, and 5 years ago? You can pick one time frame. You can look at all. We have difficulty with memory. I mean, we can remember something from 20 years ago that's so random, but don't ask us what we had for breakfast yesterday, right? Okay, novelty bias. How can I make money habits feel fresh or fun this week so my brain doesn't ghost it? My brain doesn't just let go of it. What is a way that you can make a new money habit or work on creating a new money habit that makes it fun? Gamify it, man. Our brains love game playing. When you gamify shit, that is a real solid trick. So how could you maybe gamify something in your money habits that you want to help yourself with? 2 more. Rejection sensitivity tied to worth. Whew, RSD. This is a deep question, so I'm just letting you know that in advance. If money wasn't a scoreboard for my worth, my value, what would it be measuring instead? What would it be measuring instead? And last but not least, that binary thinking, that trap of thinking that way. Where have I already made progress with money that I've been ignoring because it's not the end goal yet? I can give you a really good thing about the fact that our brains don't hold on to everything. A handful of years ago, when I did my very first program where I was being coached by a coach to help teach me more about doing business online, she asked me, what was something unique about me? And I'm like, there's nothing. Right. So humble. No. She goes, at the time, she's like, oh, so your 20 plus years of business experience, that's not it? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that. I forgot that? Are you fucking kidding me? But I did forget it. I totally did. Even though I knew it, I know it inherently. It wasn't something I thought, oh, this is a factor. It didn't even occur to me, right? So for you, where have you already made progress with money that you have been ignoring or forgetting just because it's not the end goal that you have in mind? Feel free to tell me which of these questions helped you the most. I want to hear it. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you would like to book a free clarity call with me, my contact info is in the show notes. That's the same contact info you'll use to DM me with which of these questions really made you think. As for the clarity call, it is not a coaching call. It's a 30-minute call where I ask you questions, get clear on what you need, and we go from there. I am really not a sit on your head kind of salesperson. We're all grown-ups. I like to give you your options, and then the next part is in your hands. I love to hear from you. I really do. One of my core values is deep connection, and I really love hearing from people who listen to the podcast. So jump in the DMs with any of those different things that I just mentioned. And until next week, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you always. So stay untamed and feral as fuck. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.